Mr. Richard Goodall's special performance, it's important to note just how much of an impact his impressive vocals have made around the world.
It was the kind of moment America's Got Talent lives for: raw, emotional, unforgettable. A humble janitor walks onto the stage and belts out a song that leaves the audience breathless. But what if the moment that moved millions wasn't quite real? I'm talking about Richard Goodall, the viral sensation from Terre Haute, Indiana, whose golden buzzer moment had people in tears. But now fans are asking uncomfortable questions, because what aired on TV doesn't match what really happened. In the official AGT broadcast, Judge Heidi Klum praises Richard, pauses, then says, "This is what I'm going to do for you, because I love you," and slams the golden buzzer. But over on TikTok, an uncut audience video tells a different story. The words are not the same. In fact, some of them are missing. It's an edit carefully produced, trimmed, and stitched for maximum impact. One fan wrote, "Why did her words change?" Another said, "Explain, AGT." And it's not just about creative editing. It's about rewriting the story in real time. What did AGT leave out, and why? As we dug deeper into Richard's journey, the truth became even more emotional and even more unbelievable. What viewers saw on TV was the grand spectacle, the cheers, the confetti, the triumphant hug. But what America's Got Talent didn't show was what happened after the cameras cut away. When the music faded and the glitter settled, something remarkable took place backstage, and audiences never saw it. Heidi Klum, moments after hitting the golden buzzer, walked straight over to Richard Goodall. They shared a personal, heartfelt conversation, laughing, hugging, connecting in a way that felt more human than Hollywood. That entire moment, cut from the final broadcast. Why? We don't know, but someone decided it didn't fit the narrative. And then there was Terry Crews, charismatic, booming, and emotional. As Richard made his way backstage, Terry took the mic and delivered a spontaneous speech, lifting the entire room with his energy. As Richard stood there, visibly overwhelmed, Terry turned around one last time and shouted words that nearly brought the crew to tears. None of it aired. Not a second. AGT chose polish over presence. But for those in the room, it was unforgettable. And maybe, just maybe, the Real magic happened when the cameras weren't rolling. While the nation cheered for Richard Goodall's big break, very few knew the quiet pain he carried with him onto that stage. America's Got Talent introduced us to the singing janitor, but they left out one of the most heartbreaking chapters of his life, a chapter that defines who he is today. Before Angie, his current fiancée, there was someone else. Richard was married. For 30 years, he shared his life with a woman whose name he keeps private, perhaps out of love, perhaps out of grief. She wasn't mentioned on stage, not even in the AGT background footage. But to those who follow Richard more closely, especially on Instagram, the truth is devastatingly clear. On June 19, 2021, his wife lost her long battle with cancer. That day, Richard posted a message that still lingers in the minds of those who read it. "I'm so sorry," he wrote. "I did my best, but my best wasn't good enough." He compared cancer to getting punched in the gut, falling to the ground, and being told to get back up and start over. Their relationship, by all accounts, was a love story. Every Valentine's Day, every Christmas, celebrated, cherished, photographed. But as her condition worsened, Richard's world changed. And when she passed, he didn't just lose a wife. He lost the person who had heard his songs long before the world ever would. It's a chapter AGT never told, but it's a chapter that explains everything else. After 30 years of love and a crushing goodbye, Richard Goodall found himself alone, quietly grieving, quietly singing. For most people, that's where the story would stop. But Richard's life was about to change in an unexpected way. Just over a year after his wife's passing, Richard posted a photo on Instagram that made some fans pause. It showed him sitting across from a woman at a small restaurant called Taco Tequila's. The caption read, "Fun night with my lady." Her name? Angie. It was more than just a date. It was a turning point. A reminder that even after unbearable loss, people can still find light again. Richard, who had once described cancer as a battle he lost, was learning to live again, not to forget the past, but to honor it by continuing forward. Their relationship blossomed quietly. No red carpet, no chivlains, just smiles, meals, and music. And when Richard stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, Angie was watching. She saw not only a man chasing his dream, but one who had survived a private war. His voice carried the weight of grief, but also the hope of new beginnings. And in Angie, Richard found the courage to sing not just for the past, but for the future. On stage, Richard Goodall told America he used to sing alone in his room, just him, his stereo, and his dreams. It was a powerful image, but like many parts of his story, the truth was far more layered. Richard wasn't just a solitary dreamer. He was already a performer. In his hometown of Terre Haute, Indiana, Richard had been singing for years with a local band called Janitor. Small gigs, local bars, nothing flashy, just real music with real people. And when a TikTok of Richard performing Journey's Don't Stop Believin' at a middle school went viral, it wasn't just Richard who got attention, it was the entire band. Almost overnight, Janitor found themselves booked every weekend in July. And just like that, Richard wrote on Facebook, "We're fully booked. Thank you to my band for the hustle and our manager for securing the gigs." The image of a lone janitor finally getting his break is powerful, but it's not the whole story. Richard wasn't waiting for a spotlight, he was building one. In smoky bars and small-town venues, Richard and his band were putting in the hours long before AGT's cameras ever rolled. And now, rumors are swirling that Janitor might join Richard on the AGT final stage. One of his bandmates even said, "I wasn't surprised at all. He's always had it, especially with Journey. He's the perfect voice for it." Richard once sang alone. Now he's backed by a band, a fan base, and a growing legacy. For most contestants, appearing on America's Got Talent is a logistical whirlwind: flights, hotels, schedules, stress. For Richard Goodall, it was something else entirely: a financial mountain. As a school janitor, Richard didn't have the kind of money it takes to travel across the country, book hotels in California, or handle the expenses of a multi-day television production. But Richard wasn't alone, not anymore. Back in Terre Haute, Indiana, a man named Chris Bond saw an opportunity. He did work for AGT. He wasn't a publicist. He was a neighbor, one of Richard's own. And he launched a GoFundMe campaign with a single mission: make sure Richard could compete without worrying about a single bill. The campaign's goal was $15,000. That target was obliterated in days. By June 9th, over 3,000 people had donated. Families, friends, strangers, they all pitched in. The message was loud and clear: let's give our AGT Golden Buzzer winner the support he deserves. But the money wasn't just for Richard. It was so his family could travel with him, so he wouldn't walk backstage alone. So the man who sang to lift others could finally feel that same support surrounding him. This wasn't just a GoFundMe. It was a movement, a testament to what happens when one person's voice awakens something bigger in a community. And as Richard prepared to return to AGT for the next round, he wasn't just traveling with luggage. He was carrying the love of an entire town. On a warm August night in 2022, a crowd gathered for what seemed like an ordinary concert. What they witnessed instead was a moment that would echo far beyond the venue walls. Standing center stage next to a professional rock vocalist, Richard Goodall, a janitor just months earlier, sang with the power and poise of a seasoned performer. The song? Journey's Don't Stop Believin', the same song that had first launched Richard into the viral spotlight. But this time he wasn't singing to a TikTok camera or a middle school gymnasium. He was performing live, shoulder to shoulder with Rudy Cardenas, a Venezuelan-born singer who had once been a finalist on American Idol. Rudy had seen Richard's viral clip and couldn't believe what he heard. "There's no way this guy is real," he joked. But after watching it again and again, he reached out. He invited Richard to sing live, and when they walked on stage together, Rudy introduced him to the audience like a headliner. "This guy right here is real, and tonight dreams come true." As the music began, the crowd erupted. Richard didn't flinch. He didn't hesitate. He delivered every note with the kind of fire that can't be faked. And when the final chorus hit, the venue shook. Later that night, Richard shared a video of the performance with a caption that said it all: "Still enjoying the ride, y'all." He thanked everyone, friends, the band, the audience, but made no mention of ego, no sign of entitlement. Just gratitude, just music, Before the golden buzzer, before the viral fame, before the standing ovations, there was a quiet rejection. Richard Goodall, the janitor turned singer who moved millions on America's Got Talent, had once auditioned for another show, and they said no. He had submitted a virtual audition to The Voice, performing the same song that would later shake AGT stage. Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. The reply came quickly, a simple, impersonal email. Thank you for auditioning. Unfortunately, you will not be moving on. For Richard, it hit hard. He shared the news on Instagram with a mixture of honesty and heartbreak. Just so everyone knows, I'm not what The Voice is looking for, but I'll try for AGT, he wrote. Then added a line that cut deeper than any note he'd ever sung. Regular people just don't cut it in this world. It wasn't bitterness, it was resignation. Richard had spent decades being told he was talented by coworkers, students, bar crowds, family. And in one automated rejection, all of that was questioned. But he didn't stop. He could have gone quiet. Instead, he stepped up. AGT became his second shot, and he ran with it. The Voice missed its chance. America's Got Talent didn't. It started with a single TikTok. One voice, one song, one janitor. But what happened next, no one could have predicted. As Richard Goodall's performance of Don't Stop Believe It spread like wildfire online, it didn't just capture the hearts of fans, it reached the ears of legends. One of them was Steve Perry, the original frontman of Journey. For Richard, who had spent years singing along to Perry's voice in his bedroom, it was the ultimate endorsement. On TikTok, Steve Perry left a simple comment, "I love this." Just 3 words, but they carried the weight of a lifetime. Richard responded immediately. "Love your music, sir," he wrote. "Thank you for commenting. This means so much to me." It was more than validation. It was a full circle moment, the idol recognizing the admirer. And Steve Perry wasn't the only one. The official Journey account reposted Richard's performance, broadcasting his voice to millions more. Even Howie Mandel, AGT's own judge, took to social media with a video reacting to the viral janitor, adding, "This man needs to be on AGT." At first, Richard didn't believe it. "I thought it was fake," he admitted. But it wasn't. It was real. And it was happening. From mop buckets to music legends, from rejection to recognition, Richard Goodall's voice was no longer just his own. It belonged to all those who had been overlooked, all those who had waited, and all those who kept believing. Richard Goodall didn't walk onto the America's Got Talent stage with a record deal, a stylist, or a carefully crafted backstory. He came as he was a janitor from Terre Haute, Indiana, who had quietly carried a voice and a story for decades. He'd been rejected, widowed, told no, told he wasn't enough. And yet, somehow, he never stopped singing. AGT gave him a spotlight, yes, but it was the world that gave him momentum. It was TikTok sleuths who exposed how the show edited his golden buzzer moment. It was the fans who rallied behind his GoFundMe. It was the bandmates who knew he had something special. It was Steve Perry, Howie Mandel, and thousands of strangers online who saw something real and refused to let it go unnoticed. Richard didn't just sing, "Don't Stop Believin' It." He lived it. From mop handles to microphones, from silence to standing ovations, he proved that talent doesn't need permission, and dreams don't follow a script. America's Got Talent tried to polish his story. But here's the truth. Richard Goodall didn't need editing, because some voices are too honest to fake. And if you listen closely, you'll hear them. In the hallway, in the lunchroom, in the quiet places the world forgets to look.